Yo, yo, yo. This is the first episode of Paradigm Shift. This is going to be a podcast, Vodcast. I'm going to be on TikTok. It's called Paradigm Shift. Basically, it's a motivation, spirituality podcast. And I'm going to be talking about sports, how spirituality, psychology fits into that. I'm going to be talking about everything. Really, I know people always say pare it down, do something that's more niche, but I think spirituality is actually the main thing that I'm talking about. But it fits into everything, and it fits into sports. It fits into business, your career, love, romance, family, literally anything. And the thing that I have learned, is that you really need to figure out the inside first. Everyone, including myself previously, was always trying to figure out the outside first, right? You gotta look good. You need muscles. You need to be fit. You need to have material shit, cars, a nice place, whatever, clothes, chains, all that shit. And I realized through so much soul searching and just learning, that it's actually the other way. It's figure out the inside first, and then the outside, which is secondary, material world. Everything here is material. Everything you see right now is material, including my body, this fucking microphone, that lion painting. Everything else is material. So once you figure that out, the inside, those other things, they actually start to come together quicker and almost better than before. There's so many things that I want to cover, and I got to kind of just chill out and slow down and realize that I'm teaching as well, because, you might not understand the concepts that I'm going to be talking about. And namely, number one is being in the moment, being present, being conscious. And, people say consciousness in terms of, being sentient or being able to think, but the way that I'm using it is in a more spiritual sense, and it comes from Eckhart Tolle, who basically is my mentor. Without, I've never met him, but I've read all his books, listened to him talk. He's basically my spiritual guide, and I really owe everything to his teachings, because I realized, I literally almost don't even read or watch anything else when I need that guidance. I go back to his books, and I 100% suggest you do. I'm not making money off him, or giving money to him or anything. It's just something that I believe in so much, and I'm going to talk about, his teachings and my teachings. They mesh a lot because it's what I believe in. And, I'm not saying you have to believe in the exact same things, but to me, it just resonated. It really woke me up. It really made me realize that there's so much more to this world than just looking good, having a dope ass car, being good at sports, having hot girls, having a girlfriend, whatever. And it all actually emanates from inside. So, maybe I just give you a little quick hitter on who I am. I was a fat kid growing up. I was really lazy. I was the kind of the only child in the beginning. You know, I have a brother and sister, but I was that kid where the whole family was like, you know, so involved in my life, so supportive. So all my earliest memories were me doing shit like doing a skit in front of the family, right? Everybody clapping, everybody having a great time. So even from early on then, and this has nothing to do with my family, really. It's not like they made me this way, but it fed my ego. And, you know, we're going to get into the ego because it's super important. And it's very misunderstood these days. You know, people always say, well, but you need to have ego, but they don't understand what ego really means. Ego isn't you. It is kind of an entity in its own that attaches onto humans. I know that sounds like some fucking weird ghost shit or something, but like that's really the best way to describe it, because it allows you to realize that ego isn't you, and ego is the thing that is trying to separate us from our true being, our true nature, which is loving, in the moment, caring, very inclusive. In the end, we are all the same. Literally everything in this universe is all the same, but our form as a human and our development as a human and our brains developed and over, you know, millions of years, and it hasn't really changed for the most part. And now the jump, the leap, the evolution is coming, not physically, although I'm sure it is maybe in a way, and it will, but it's spiritually, it's inside, it's consciousness, presence. So ego is that thing that, especially in the Western culture and social media, in Hollywood and literally all the media, music, especially I would say hip hop, which I'm a fan of, you know. Although it's been less and less, definitely, as I'm waking up. But it's that thing where it's trying to separate us. And the more and more we feed the ego, the more and more we separate ourselves from the other person. We want to make ourselves look good. We want to be the better person. That comes from so many things. Complaining is a tiny form of it. And you might think that it's harmless to just be complaining all the fucking time, but it adds up. It feeds the ego, right? You want to cut the ego off. And, you know, these things that I'm talking about, it's, you know, it might not make sense right now, but just trust me, the more and more we talk about it, the more and more you're going to understand it, because you're going to see it yourself, right? We need to reflect, like look at ourselves in the mirror. Really, the simplest way of saying it. Look at ourselves in the mirror and realize this shit about us. The things that we need to work on, the things that we need to change, because, you know, everybody wants to make a big change in the world. They want to fix this. They want to fix that. They want to take down violence. They want to destroy you know, bad people and bad things and war, and they fight against it. And it sounds like a noble cause in the beginning, and it might very well be, but once you become egoic through that as well, if you are not present when you're battling these things, first off, if you're battling anything, if you're fighting something, it will not end well. You might believe in the beginning that you're doing something great in this world, but if it doesn't come with a presence, and especially when you're battling, say you're taking on war in the world, right? You're taking on a war, which is a huge thing, and obviously there's a lot of shit going on right now in the world. Obviously, Israel and Palestine. I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about it, but I will say this: war is shitty. War is bad. It's so simple. There's no getting around it. Massive casualties and bombings. It doesn't matter who is doing to who. It just shouldn't be, right? So you might think, I'm going to take a stand against it and I'm going to start fighting. I'm going to go, and you know, peaceful protest is a great thing. Getting consciousness out there, if everyone's conscious, right? And that's so hard because it becomes a mob mentality and blah, 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 blah. There's just so many levels to it, right? So, I mean, one thing that Eckhart says, a lot of this stuff I've just learned from Eckhart. He talks about this extensively, but, you know, I think it's good for people to come out and spread that word as well, right? Not everybody's going to listen to Eckhart, but some people might listen to me. Some people might listen to other people. So yeah, I mean, the ego is like that thing that separates us. And to give you some more background, I was in I did piano for 5 to 7 years growing up. I was pretty good. I didn't really love it, but I always had music in me. And when I got into high school, I joined a hip hop group, started rapping. You know, I was 16 years old doing shows at clubs, being kind of like before grade 10, I was very shy. I was chubby. Grade 10, I got into the football team. Whole life changed. I was on the football team. I was starting. I had the jacket. I went to the parties. I had parties. Joined a hip hop group, you know, did shows, made music. It was amazing, right? It changed my life, but my ego was slowly filling and started back from when I was a kid. So then, you know, I stopped making music, went to film school. Around then in university is when my ego exploded because I was one of the top directors in my year. I was winning awards. Everybody wanted to work with me. And straight up, I was a douchebag. Looking back at it, I feel, you know, I try not to dwell on the past, but there are times where I think and I'm just like, damn, bruh, you were a fucking dick, man. And, you know, you make amends to those times by being present now. Because no matter what you did in the past, it's about who you are right now, right? Everybody's, you know, a lot of people are talking about their traumas, and it's great to assess your traumas and know that they exist, but you have to let them go at a certain point. You know, I'm sure this is going to be controversial, and people are probably going to be like, dude, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't have traumas. Like, everybody has trauma to a degree, and everybody, you know, can feel a deep pain, and, you know, some go through really horrible shit, really brutal shit. And I gotta be 100% honest in terms of like traumas. I didn't go through a lot of brutal traumas. Yeah, I did have some pretty intense moments. When one of my first relationships, you know, my girlfriend at the time, 3 years, she tried to kill herself. She was bipolar. You know, I had no real idea how to deal with that or work with that because I was 19. It was my first real relationship. So, you know, if you look back at it, you can find all these traumas but the thing is, you have to let go. And the way to let go is by being present, by being in the moment. And what the fuck does that even mean, right? What does it mean? Like, everybody's saying be in the moment. Be here right now. What does that mean? It means freeing yourself from thought. Thought can be a great thing. You need thought, especially for certain situations. you're starting a project, you got to think about what the project's going to be, how you're going to divvy up the work. Say you're starting a project in university and you need to figure out a topic. So you use your thought for that with the group. You figure out the timeline, who's going to do what. Then you get working on it, right? But what people don't know is that there is a higher intelligence, a consciousness, a universal consciousness, and you want to call it God, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But I just call it the universe. And that flows through us when we are in the moment. Right now, I'm in the moment. I'm here. I'm not necessarily thinking, although I might go into thought at some points. But for the most part, I'm just flowing. And that's why, I love hip hop and rap, because I freestyled a lot. It was like the first moments of me flowing. I acted. I was in the moment. I was always a great actor because I was there. I didn't think, and I did a lot of improv, So all these things kind of just like, I was always great at that type of thing of being there. I had great stage presence when I was rapping, and yeah, so how do you be in the moment? Let's get back to that. There are many ways to be in the moment and to put yourself in the moment. But the first way I'm going to tell you is take a deep breath. When you take a deep breath, feel the air going into your mouth, into your lungs, spreading into your body, filling up, the different molecules in your body, giving you life. A quick way is to use your senses. So that's why yoga is so popular, because there's a lot of deep breaths. There's a lot of holding a pose, right? When you are holding a pose, it's hard for you to think about something else because your body's straining and you're trying to take a deep breath, and there's, if you let go for a second, you could collapse, fall on the ground, hurt yourself. But you don't need yoga. You don't need to really do anything but be here, right? So take the deep breath. When you exhale, you feel the air coming out. Use your visuals, use your senses. I'm looking at my Studio One program and my voice being projected onto the program. I see the timer going around. I see this light in front of me. I see the camera. What do I hear? Use your sense of sound, sense of hearing. I hear my own voice. I hear my computer humming. I hear quietness in the apartment. So that's a quick way of bringing yourself into the moment. And that's kind of brings me to another point, is like, why do we love to do things? Why do we get addicted to doing things, whether it's playing a sport, painting, running, reading? Because it puts us in the moment. You have something in your life when you're doing it. Your thoughts are not on anything. Your thoughts might not even be in what you're doing. You're just there doing it. Whether it's writing a script, whether it's playing a video game, it can be walking, it can be working out. That's why we love to do those things so much, is because it puts us in the moment. And the people who excel at their craft, from Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Tiger Woods, Serena Williams, Mike Tyson, name anybody who's at the top Leonardo DiCaprio, they are able to put themselves in the moment whether they know it or not. And I'm almost betting that they don't actually understand what's going on. I'm sure some of them do. And I'm almost positive that most of them can't replicate that being in the moment, being in the zone outside of what they do. So, and I know for a fact that a lot of people talk about it, like Michael Jordan, he talks about being in the zone when there's no thought, when he's just there with the basketball and he's there with 5 seconds left and the timer's going down and he has to hit that shot. He isn't thinking about his past or his ex or his traumas or the bills he has to pay. He is there about getting the shot. He's there and he's doing the move and he's shooting the shot. And he's not even thinking about doing that. He's just doing it because basketball was his outlet into the moment. And the true secret is, can you put yourself into the zone without the sport or the hobby? Can you just do it in the hard times when you're working and someone's annoying the shit out of you, or there's your pipe breaks in your apartment and all of a sudden things are going crazy? Can you be in the moment there and not overreact, not create problems that don't really exist? You know, I know that I'm always gonna go back to talking about this because it's so important. And I'm going to kind of spread out from here. You know, how do you find your purpose in life? What is your purpose? What can you do to find it? You know, how can you have dope relationships, whether it be romantic, with your family, with friends, with coworkers, with your boss? How can you start a business? How can you be successful? You know, those are all secondary things, but they come from presence, from being in the moment. And I can't stress that enough. There's nothing else I can really tell you. And see, your mind is going to start thinking right now, and you're going to say that's too simple. Your mind is going to say that's too simple. Your mind's going to say, nah, bro, you don't understand, man. There's so much more to it. You gotta grind nonstop. You gotta hustle. You gotta cut off all your fake friends. You gotta be cutthroat. You gotta blah, 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 right? You know, there's so many people out there who are giving that knowledge. They might be successful in one avenue. And that's the trick that you gotta see past, is that even though someone is successful with money, it doesn't mean that they're living fully or living in peace. Because that's ultimately what you want to achieve, is peace inside yourself. And then that's when you can start, boom, you start teaching others. You create a company that adds to this world instead of taking from this world, right? You know, there's so much to talk about, and it's amazing. I'm excited. I can't. There isn't enough time for me to talk about it in one episode. Like, bro, I could talk about this literally forever, and that's how I found my calling. I believe that this is why I know it, and the truth is, maybe that will change. You know, there's a certain carefree, fluid, peaceful life that I've achieved, that I've not accomplished, but that I have now. And that's through years of work, dude. Like, I started on this journey after that, I was talking about before, that breakup with that girl. I was 24. I'm 34 right now. 10 years. That's when my journey started. And now, it's only now that I feel I'm able to teach others, that I'm able to actually go out here and give you proper guidance and knowledge and help, because that's the thing. Everybody's trying to go out there and do something and make a change, but they don't understand the universe. They don't understand themselves first. If you don't have peace in yourselves, you're not able to create peace. You know, and that's literally just it. You know, people are going to go out there and they might start out standing for something amazing, something that seems noble and beautiful and great, and it might very well be, but if you are not present and conscious enough, your project will get bigger and get bigger, and there will be more people involved, and it will become a corporation. At a certain point, most, like 99% of noble causes end up so big and so egoic, they become an ego in itself, a super ego, that they are completely gone from what they started at. That's why when you see a company, I'm going to use video games as an example, okay? There's a video game company and they make an indie game. They're an indie developer and there's 10 people on the team. And they make a first game and it's beautiful and it's small, but it's gorgeous and there's real heart and soul behind it, and you play it and you're just like, this literally completed my life right now. So good. And then that company starts to get recognition. You know, the second game is amazing as well. The third game is amazing as well. But the fourth game, they started to get funding. Maybe a bigger corporation bought them, you know, and gave them a lot of money and a lot of people. And now they make their new game and you're like, man, what happened? There's just no soul in this. Like, it's just like a blockbuster and there's people getting killed and, like, I guess there's dope graphics, but they don't even know what they're talking about. I missed those first 3 games when they were just like a small company of 10 to 20 people. Because when they started out, they were in there for the passion, for the love of it. But as they got bigger, as more people got involved, as more money, material shit, corporations, super egos got involved, it became just a way to make money. Just a means to an end. That's what it means. That's what that literally means. Is that what that means? Who fucking knows? But the point being is you need to work on you first. And to be completely honest, I'm still working on me. I don't think it'll ever end. And I still sometimes dip into unconsciousness. So there's consciousness and unconsciousness. And there are people who are very unconscious, people who are kind of unconscious, and then there's, you know, those people who are very, very unconscious. And you can just look at some of the leaders, quote unquote leaders around the world, politics. Politics is another super ego. And you have to have a conscious, the problem with that is even if you have, say, a president who's conscious, who wants to do something good, the superego of politics is churning, and it's so hard to stop because it's its own beast, right? So it's very hard to combat something like that. And you need to start as an individual, and then you start with your circle, with the people that you meet. You be conscious to just everyone you meet, from a homeless dude to a girl at the counter at a grocery store. These are the changes that we can actually control. You know, we want to make these big changes, but we really need to figure out our own selves first. It's about looking in the mirror. You know, and on another level, you know, you want to make a company, or you want to be a great director or writer or basketball player or dancer, actor, and you're getting influenced by all these things you see in the media, by all these egos out there, so you think that you have to be like that. But there are a lot of people out there who are, you know, in the spotlight, who are completely unconscious. And it's not to say that that's bad. Because bad and good, they're just relative terms to our world. But it is simply just unconscious behavior. Even when I was directing and acting, my ego got so big. And then I see a director who, like, say, is one of my favorite directors, who's making amazing films. And when they talk in interviews, their egos are super massive, and so I think that's okay. But you can do great things without being that dick or douchebag or materialistic diva that you see out there. There's so many people who are doing good and come from a great place. And to be honest, there's not, like, if I had to put a number to it, I'd say there's a lot more people who are unconscious than that are out there than are conscious people. There are way more people that are unconscious than are there are way more people that are unconscious than conscious people. Way more. But that's the shift that's happening right now, right? I don't know, like, I feel it too. It's heavy shit. But it's only heavy because these are things that we don't understand. They're new. That's why it is a shift. It's an evolution, right? Our evolution as humans isn't necessarily going to come physically. This is the conscious shift. You know, humans before us, it was animalistic for most of human life. Very animalistic, very tribal. And only when the philosophers and spiritual guides started to come around did this shift start to happen. And there are people in our history, in our past, that were teaching things like this, the real ones. Because there were many people out there, and still are, of course, you see them all the time, who it sounds all good, and they may be very beautiful people physically, and they may have 1 million followers, but there's something there that you just don't, it just doesn't sit right with you. And it's because they don't understand it either. And, you know, it's hard for me to sit here and just be like, I know all the answers. I don't. I really don't. But in my path, I believe that I've found, like, my true calling, my true path, the things that I want to live by. just the way that I want to live. And it's really changed me, man. Like, when I was making music and hip hop, a reason why I'm not making it anymore is because every time I go back into it, my ego would get huge. Because I would be making tracks, because I make rap, and I'm like, nah, man, I gotta fucking talk about bitches and like chains and like money and just be a douchebag, you know? Like, there's something about hip hop that, like, it's so material. There are people who are doing it that are very conscious and they talk about shit. And even people who are very materialistic, who sometimes you listen to the shit and you're like, damn, bro, dude is spitting real. Like, that is conscious. That is beautiful. And, the beats are crazy. Like, let's be real. Beats are crazy. And I got a playlist of all hip hop shit, but, my being conscious is, also makes me look at that shit and I'm like, bro, should I really be listening to dudes talking about like killing each other and like, you know what I mean? Listen to like the top 10 hip hop songs, rap songs right now, bro. Really listen to it and be like, yo, is this what I want to live by? Because I don't do this shit in my life. I don't kill people. That's not what I want to be around. I'm not around people who want to kill people. But yet I'm listening to this song and I'm repeating it and I'm singing it almost like a mantra, right? We have these mantras in our life where it's like, say this mantra. I'm going to have an amazing day today. I'm going to have an amazing day today, right? You repeat it enough times, it will help you. It'll put that positivity in your mind, which you really actually don't even need to do. But if you're saying a positive thing in your mind all day, all of a sudden you start feeling positive, right? So if you're repeating this rap song all day, it's talking about, yo, I'm gonna bust this dude with my 9, blow his head off, and you're repeating that every day, whether you're out loud or in your head and you're thinking about it, how is that affecting you? I know how it affects me. Sometimes when I listen to hip hop, I get into this animalistic mindset. Maybe that's why when I work out, I listen to it a lot. Actually, I used to. I'm kind of more transitioned to like the EDM. That's why I love EDM, especially non-vocal EDM, where it's just like, it gives me that energy without having that negative underlying thing that a lot of rap does. And that's the thing. I mean, you might think, bro, you're tripping, man. But when you become conscious, you start to see things that in your life, right? You start to assess things. Do I need this? Whether it be another person in your life, whether it be something you're doing, listening to, watching. I used to be a huge fan of horror movies and I still watch them, but it depends on the horror, right? You watch a horror movie that's unconscious, that's about 10 teens in the woods just being douchebags and having sex. Like, not that sex is bad, but like, you watch those mindless horror movies and it's like, I'm watching this horror movie and it's really just about how can we kill these people off in cool ways, right? And I used to watch that shit growing up and I'd be like, dude, how's he gonna kill that guy, man? He ripped his head off. You know what I mean? It's psychotic. It's psychotic shit. But you watch a horror movie like Hereditary, and it does have some pretty brutal shit, but you can feel that there is a consciousness behind that movie. How dark, even if it's that dark, because that is a very dark movie, but it's based off real themes, off conscious themes. Not to say that watching Hereditary every day for the rest of your life isn't gonna fuck with you, but that is that is definitely a conscious film. Whereas another film that's just a slasher with no subtext or no meaning behind it is that unconscious level, right? And it's people who are unconscious who are making unconscious films, because there's unconscious people who give unconscious money, and that's why they are there. You know, you got to look closely into this material commercial world, see what it's really all about. And you got to stop equating money to real positive and successful lives. Stop equating material shit to success, because you need to redefine what success is. And to me, it's being at peace, being conscious as much as I can, because I dip into unconsciousness throughout the day even. And sometimes I go into depressions, but because I'm conscious, I'm able to snap out of those depressions so much quicker. Man, when let's say 3 years ago, or maybe less or maybe more, I could go through depression for 6 months. 6 months. Usually after summer, when it starts getting colder and raining and cloudy. You know, you call it seasonal depression, but it's a combo of that and, yeah, unconscious behavior and not being able to be conscious. Because when you go into a depression like that, you are unconscious. And you're usually in a thought loop, and you're thinking about something brutal, or you keep going back and forth and back and forth. And I do that sometimes, but I snap out of it in a week, a day, 2, 3 days, whereas before it could last 6 months. And yeah, consciousness, being at peace, bringing a lightness, chill, dope, awesome vibrations into your world. And it's not about it's not about thinking. It's not about saying a mantra 1,000 times. It's not about doing anything. It's literally about putting yourself in the moment. And how do you do it again? Focus on your senses, your breathing, your visuals, your hearing, your touch. That is an easy way to bring you into the moment. Anyways, we hit about 40-something minutes. I definitely am going to split this up on YouTube at least, but this will be an episode on my podcast. The first episode, I dropped a lot of shit on you. I'm going to try to pare it down for all the other episodes, but I'm so glad you're here watching, here with me on the journey. I'm not perfect, nowhere near it, but I do have a lot of knowledge and consciousness to pass on to you. And I know you need it, because I need it. The whole world does. So that's the first episode. I'm Marlo. This is Paradigm Shift. Peace.